Good morning. This is Cyber Power of Tigray. My name is Ephraim. Today, my guest is Danny Denver. Danny Denver, we will discuss about the current condition of Ethiopia, what's going on right now. So, welcome, Danny Denver, to Cyber Power of Tigray.
Thank you for having me, Ephraim. It's good to be here. Cyber Power of Tigray. Thank you.
Okay, let's take you back to before we start the current condition of Ethiopia right now. I would like you to give me some idea about how the Prime Minister Abiy came to the power. I know we had some kind of political unrest when Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn was in power.
Mm.
Since then, Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn resigned, and I think Prime Minister Abiy came somehow to the power. So to have a good picture for the entire world, let's talk about this condition, how he came to the power.
Very good. Thank you. That's a great way to start the conversation. Yes, as you said, in 2018, after years of protest, the former Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn resigned, and the EPRDF, as a coalition, elected Abiy Ahmed to become the Prime Minister in 2018. This was viewed by many as a good sign for Ethiopia's future. And everyone was open to the new change. With him coming to power, he did bring in the peaceful resolution between Ethiopia and Eritrea. The relationships were restored for a brief moment, but they were restored to peaceful conditions. And for that, he actually were given a Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. And so when we look back into the things that took place from 2018 on, it's important to acknowledge all the good things and the bad things. So the good thing is there's a peaceful conditions with Eritrea, and then also people in Ethiopia have saw that this was going to be a moral boost for the country. So these are the positive outcomes, but the negative far outweigh the positives, and I'm going to go through those one by one here. First, there was the ethnic violence that spread all throughout the country. Folks from different ethnicities were being killed in different regions of the country. We had the highest internal displacements in, I believe, 2018 and 2019 in the world for folks who are fleeing the areas that they've lived all through their lives, and now they reside in places like camps and such within the country. Roads to Tigray were closed, and this has been closed for the last 3 years consistently to hurt people of Tigray. And high officials from the Amhara region, the president of the Amhara region and his cabinet folks who were murdered in Bahar Dar, and also the chief of the army, General Saare, and his friend, General Ghazai, were brutally murdered in Addis Ababa in their homes. And these cases have not been solved. And so as we proceed more, and there are individuals who have been arrested for no crimes, or they have not been convicted of any crimes. They are in prison. And also you see a lot of atrocities across the country. There are a lot of killings, and there's just, it's hard to account for. So a lot has happened in the last 3 years. And that is the starting point to what is the current situation of today. So we'll dive into that in a bit here.
Great. Thank you, Danny Denver, for the explanation about how Prime Minister Abiy came to the power. My next question is, at this time, there is a lot of war going on. Prime Minister Abiy just declared a war against Tigray people. There are a lot of measurements that he took, not only now, but also in the last 3 years. There are freeways has been closed, budget has been stopped, even mask for the kids, even the desert La Costa, they never had any measurements or any prevention methods for the Tigray people. And he finally did a lot of stuff right now, finally declared this one. So what should the international community do to avoid genocide in Ethiopia?
Yeah, it's another really good question. So there are a few things that the international communities could do, but before that, let me kind of give you a little more context on what transpired in the last 4 or 5 months, maybe even 8, 9 months. Before COVID-19, the idea was to hold elections in 2020 and have a newly elected folks to be in power. And so with that in mind, and then when the popularities of Abiy Ahmed's regime dwindled with all the atrocities that were happening across the country, there was a good reason to avoid having an election. COVID-19 was used as a reason not to hold an election. But as you can see across the world, many countries are holding elections safely through the guidelines of the WHO or any of their local health guidelines. So that was a reason used, but that's not really a convincing reason to not hold an election. This was just a way of postponing and extending power. But Tigray decided not to go through that same method. Tigray decided to hold an election to have its own self-determination, meaning Tigray wanted to make sure that they conduct an election every 5 years, and those that are elected through those elections become the leaders of the state. And it concluded a successful elections in August and to September, and now the leaders are those elected folks that are in power. But this was not a good news for Abiy Ahmed's regime, and Abiy Ahmed's regime has worked tirelessly to stop it. He used the House of Federation to tell Tigray not to conduct the election, and it has used measures like the budget, as you mentioned, not to send the budget to Tigray for the employees. And also has withheld COVID-19 medical equipments that were to be used for students and the local folks of Tigray. On top of that, like you said, the locust invasion of Oromia, Amhara, and Tigray primarily was disastrous in the last couple of months. But there were no assistance from the federal side to assist the people of Tigray. And for that reason, the frictions between the federal government and the Tigray government widened. And that brought us to the current conditions that we're in. So I'm going to go over a little bit about what's going on in the state right now as it stands, so that I can proceed to going over what the international community should do that would help us in this process. So as it stands right now, as of Tuesday, election day in the U.S., Abiy Ahmed decided to send his special troops to Tigray to abduct, kill, and extort, or not extort, but kill and abduct TPLF senior officials, and he wanted to do this secretly. He came in to Mekelle and took over a hotel, thinking that the senior officials would be there, but that didn't transpire. And in the process, fighting engulfed, because you cannot come to the state of Tigray and abduct leaders as you wish. That is not how our constitution works, and that is not how you conduct business in any democratized country. So with that started a problem. The very next day, or that same day actually, Abiy Ahmed came on live TV and announced that he's waging war against Tigray. So let me say that one more time. Abiy Ahmed came in on live TV and announced that he would be waging war against Tigray. This means that he would use all necessary means in his disposal to attack the people of Tigray, not TPLF, the people of Tigray. Okay. Oftentimes you would hear that people say, "Oh, he's only going after TPLF." No, he's actually going against the people of Tigray, because the people of Tigray appointed TPLF to be its leaders. If they appointed TPLF to be its governing body, then attacking TPLF is directly attacking Tigray. This has to be understated and very vocally put out. So with this, there were some airstrikes that took place. They bombed the outskirts of Mekelle, and he came in on TV yesterday to announce that there will be more bombing. He actually came on live TV and said there will be more bombing, so he kindly advises Tigrayans to not conduct themselves in a group setting in their own region. This is the information that's coming out of Abiy Ahmed and his regime, and the international community needs to know what's going on. This is the first thing, right? The second thing is war. There are no winners in war. There are no victories in war. There are casualties on both ends. There are many lives would be lost into this, as well as economic downfall. And so what we are asking the international community to do is, primarily the bigger organizations like the AU, EU, the UN, and the US and other superpowers, is to put pressure on the Abiy Ahmed's regime to basically de-escalate tensions, to conduct more bombings or any warfares against civilians, against the people of Tigray in general. We need pressure coming in from the AU primarily, because that's the African Union. That's what governs the all 54, 55 countries in Africa. But I think the pressures from the EU and the US, as well as the UN, is going to also extremely help in stopping Abiy Ahmed from conducting more war-related activities in Tigray. And so we ask the international community to really step in and apply pressure on Abiy Ahmed's regime to really pull back on the activities that they're conducting so far.
Yeah, Danny, a lot of people are saying that this is similar to Rwanda genocide, because I don't know if it is what the measurement is. I have heard people are saying that the genocide science and measurement is from the beginning, after he took a power. The main major roads that Tigray connects with the rest of Ethiopia has been blocked, and he never done anything for the entire 2 years. And this is like, a big deal for the Tigrayans for the last 2-3 years without any connection of basic necessities to the Tigray people. And then after that, the COVID-19 is obviously clear that there's a lot of aid, non-governmental, governmental organizations has been sent for Ethiopia, but those masks, he decided not to send those masks to Tigray students. and the budget has been cut, like you said earlier. Another thing was it was a big disaster. The disaster La Costa has was in Tigray, and he never done any preventive measures or any aid to Tigray people. But he never even speak in Tigrinya to encourage them or to give them support. But when he declared the war, he speak Tigrinya, not only him, but also Professor Brahanu Nega, who went from United States to Ethiopia to make democratic. Do you think those all measurements are a part of genocide in Ethiopia, including those all the troops fighting in most of the places in Wolkite, Sagede? A lot of people are going, and this is. I know that the war is going to be danger. We are fighting each other. So, would you call this a genocide?
Yes, it's just a modern definition of a genocide. If you look, if you're preventing the citizens of Tigray from getting the necessary things that they need to live, you're causing a direct impact in their lives. Two, if you're preventing medical equipment from getting to the folks in Tigray, you're basically don't care if they die. COVID is a serious illness. The global, all the folks in the world are suffering from COVID, and they're really trying to find a way to handle it. And imagine adding a fuel to that. Imagine saying, hey, look, you know what? COVID is real, but we're not going to send you masks and other necessary preventatory equipment to keep you safe from contaminating or spreading COVID around the state. But on top of that, what you have is the locust bugs are coming into the state, and they are swarming through the state, meaning eating every livestock, everything that is cropped as a crop, everything that's there is just demolished. They've ransacked everything in the locust, all the crops that have been farmed. This is farmers' livelihood, year long worth of work that they've just lost because the federal government would not act in making sure that they've stopped the locusts from spreading around the country. And that's not just in Tigray. That's also an issue that's happening that happened in Wallo, that happened in eastern Oromia, in Harar, and other places in Somalia, Ethiopia, Somalia. So honestly, speaking, when we look at, generally speaking, Abiy Ahmed does not care about the people of Ethiopia. Abiy Ahmed does not care about the people of Ethiopia. Abiy Ahmed cares about his power, and that's it. And so he finds TPLF as the greatest threat to his power, to his one-man show in Addis Ababa, in Arat Kilo. So what he's going to do is fight off TPLF. In the process of wanting to fight TPLF, he doesn't care how many Tagarus he kills in the process. And so if he can wipe out the whole state of Tigray, he would wipe the state of Tigray. That's the kind of leader that some are, praising and supporting and being behind. So what I would say is the international community really does need to step in here and avoid this genocide from happening. Because if this continues, what's going to happen is the Tigrayans would have to start migrating to different states, meaning to Sudan or to other places. And then even the people in there would be stuck from not having all the things that they need to live, medical equipment, food, shelter, and all of that. Because if you bomb every city, then where do people live? What happens? If you don't get medical supplies to the region in a timely fashion, how many people are going to die from illnesses that they don't have a way of preventing? And same thing with disastrous refugees going to Sudan and other places and causing more issues for the other international communities. So this needs to be taken care of now. And this is the time to act. If you don't act now, what's going to happen is it's going to have a trickling effect where the Horn will be destabilized and the rest of the other regions in Africa will be destabilized. And then that's going to have trickling effect to Europe. That's going to have trickling effect to the US and other areas of the world. So we need to act now. This is urgent.
Exactly. I want to emphasize something about Abiy Ahmed. He called the Tigray People Liberation Front leaders junta group, junta Budin. What does this mean? Would you, no matter what one party, if it was bad or good, if it was, if the party is elected by the people of Tigray, would you label them terrorist? Would you label them junta or Budin? And is it okay for people of Tigray to restrict from movement and to tell them to stop, not to come to work? Those who work in Ministry of Defense in other places, and also a lot of Tigrayan people are in a very danger, emotional and physical attack in the rest of Ethiopia. Is it true that a lot of Tigrayan people are now labeling a terrorist as a breaking news?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question because it's very ironic. So you have a democratically elected party that's leading a region, and you have an unelected, illegitimate government in Addis Ababa who's calling a legitimate and democratically elected party a terrorist group. So the irony is, it's just beyond anyone's imagination. But to circle back on what you said, yes, the federal government has no basis to call TPLF a terrorist organization, because actually the organization that, or not organization, but the regime that's in Addis Ababa right now is a terrorist organization. You see mass killings in Wallaga. You see mass killings in eastern Ethiopia. You see mass killings in Benshangul in western Ethiopia. You see all these atrocities that's happening in Tigray and in Amhara region. So what's the federal government's job? What is the federal government doing here? How is, to me, in my views, federal government's job is to protect the people first and foremost. That's the number one job that the federal government has, is to protect the people of Ethiopia. But time and time and again, the Ethiopian government has failed to protect the Ethiopian people, maybe by design. Maybe this is something that's happening because you do not want to have any kind of security in any places in Ethiopia. But either way, the regime in Addis Ababa, Abiy Ahmed's regime in Addis Ababa, does not have any basis to call anybody a terrorist, because it in itself is more of a terrorist organization than anybody else. He created the Prosperity Party on himself. Doesn't have any of the legal means to become an organization, to become a legal party. Doesn't have any leadership structure. Doesn't have who's on top of it. And this is what's so-called leading Ethiopian government right now. And so what we have to understand is this organization, I mean, this Prosperity Party, it just doesn't have any place to call anyone a terrorist, especially TPLF, because TPLF actually held an election that was observed by outside organizations or journalists or observers, and they have attest that this was a fair election. And so it just doesn't make sense. That's one. Two, the issues with Tagarus across Ethiopia. Yes, many Tagarus in the defense force or any Tagarus that are in different areas of the government are being terminated from their positions, or they are being arrested and put in jail, and a lot are being intimidated. And list of names have been taken, and there's a lot of ugly things that are happening that is not being conducted. We are not able to see it. These are information that are being sent to us from within. And so this is one of the other main reasons that the international community needs to step in, because prior to the Abiy Ahmed's regime, most Ethiopians travel around Ethiopia to conduct business. They moved around freely so that they can actually do what they feel best for themselves and achieve the utmost financial situation. So for a regime that came in hopes of providing reforms and providing safety net for Ethiopians, it has done the very opposite. And this is important because to the world, Abiy Ahmed comes off as a person who cares, who doesn't like violence. He's a peaceful person and such, but he is a very vicious and a tyrant of a leader. And for him to call anybody a terrorist is a laughable thing. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, you did. Okay, being said that, as you know, and most of the international government should know, and everybody knows about the development in Ethiopia during former Prime Minister Meles. The economical digit was about double digit, and now we are going to the hell. And those are the a party which is TPLF that they change the entire economical condition in Ethiopia. So this danger situation, to prevent this danger situation, I don't think there are a lot of Ethiopian people are understanding this condition. What is your message for those who are supporting this the Abiy Ahmed group, and then what's your message for Tigray people and other organizations in diaspora as well as in Ethiopia?
Yeah, also this is really good. Yes, during the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, we were on pace to be a middle-income country by 2025. We had, like you said, a double-digit growth every year in the GDP, and things were getting much better. We're getting out of the famine-stricken, the hungry, starving country known as Ethiopia to a fast-growing country. We built dams all over the country. We build universities all over the country. We build airports all over the country. We build roads all over the country, and we were really pushing the country to be, middle-class country, like a lot of European countries and some African countries. We're a non-oil producing country that was growing by double-digit, and so this is not something that should be looked at lightly. And so, when you see the reverse happening and we're going in a very opposite direction here, it's very sad. I never thought that we would be in this position personally. But with that said, you do have to keep in mind that, if the diaspora doesn't step up and push for its leadership and whoever they support to be transparent, to be upfront, to protect the people, to do what they signed up to do as the government officials, then what good are they as officials? And so there needs to be more push to understand and get clarity from your political, the folks that you support are the folks that govern you in your respective regions. What we see today is folks not questioning anyone and everybody acting and working in a way that is uncontrollable. Meaning, just the other day, we saw a killing of the Amharas in West Oromia. That happened because the federal government pulled the army out of the city when the city was asking for more troops to stay and protect the people. What good is a government that does not stay behind and support the people and not leave them to get butchered just the way they did in Amhara? And so the folks from Amhara should be able to ask these questions and say, why did our people get killed by the abundance or being abundant by the federal troops that left? And why did they leave? And that will lead you to understanding more of why we're in this position that we're in with Tigray, this war. Those troops left north before any of the incidents that happened because they need to go north in order to start the war with Tigray. By leaving, they left the Amharas abandoned, and then they got butchered in a little small setting. This will continue if no one questions it. There's more killings to come if we're not stepping up and saying, hey, enough is enough. We cannot have any more killings. We can't have any war. War brings just killings and a loss of goods that you have that could have helped people. You bomb someplace, as soon as you bomb it, it's no longer any good for the people. You bomb people, you killed a family member, a father, a son, a mom. And guess what? You're also leaving trauma behind on those that survived those bombings. So the trickling effect of war is significant, and we need to make sure that we keep that in mind when we speak up and say enough is enough. You know, Abiy must go. He cannot stay and lead Ethiopia. He is dragging us into a place that Ethiopia has never been, and we're seeing just mass killings in every direction of the country. So to the diaspora, hey, step up, voice your opinion, tell your local officials, look, our people are being killed, our people are in war, and we need you to help us stop Abiy from committing any more crimes in the country.
One thing that I would like to ask you, Abiy Ahmed announced that the junta group TPLF has he called them Kahadi. Kahadi means betrayed the country.
Mm-hmm.
When Semen which is the front line, Ministry of Defense soldiers are in the border of Eritrea. The president of Eritrea was visiting the main air force before this war happened.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think betrayed Ethiopia?
I think you've answered your question. There's not been a single person who has betrayed.
Yeah,
I'm agreeing with you. There's no one who has betrayed Ethiopia more than Abiy Ahmed personally. He, you know, a lot of people have confirmed that he has been supplying information when he was in INSA to some of the opposition groups that work in Eritrea before, you know, some years back. After that, you remember the conversation he had with Al-Sisi in Egypt, where he said, "Wallahi, will not reduce the." He basically sold the Egypt dam, contrary to Ethiopia's best interest. He also has had Isaias Afwerki come visit everything that Ethiopia has to offer, everything that the former EPRDF government built. He has brought him to show him, including the military facilities. So how do you have an outside sovereign country leader and a dictator at that come to your country and you show him everything that you have to work with, and then you go also visit their military camps in hopes to understand what their military looks like so that you can partner up together and attack your own people? And so when you talk about betrayal, no one has betrayed Ethiopians more than Abiy Ahmed. Betrayal, the pure definition, if you were to look at the definition of betrayal, Abiy Ahmed's picture should be posted in there. Because he has never known to uphold the best interest of Ethiopia and Ethiopians at any time in his life. He's only held the best interest of Abiy Ahmed at heart every single time whenever he made any decisions. And the other thing, let me add one more caveat to this. When Abiy Ahmed came to power, one of the main peoples that actually were big push from the back were Lama Magarsa, Oromo leader, who we don't even know his whereabouts. This is the person who brought Abiy Ahmed to the front as the prime minister. So you tell me betrayal more than that. and some say that he's on house arrest, but he's one of the people that actually, we used to say, Team Lemma. The name was Team Lemma that came to power as a group, and yet he betrayed even Lemma Magarsa. So to me, when you speak of betrayal, the number one betrayal, the number one person that have betrayed everything and anything in his vicinity is Abiy Ahmed, and he has no basis to speak on anyone betraying anybody. The North Core, a little bit about the North Core, is a core that I've lived with the people of Tigray for over 20 years. It's very fond of the people of Tigray, has developed to love and appreciate the people of Tigray. The North Core will never turn around and shoot at Tagaros because they want to advance Abiy Ahmed's agenda. They will never. And this is why you see them standing right next to the Tigray government, because they understand that this is a democratically elected party compared to a legitimate government that is in Arab Kilo. So when you think about this as a holistic view, you know exactly why Abiy Ahmed is saying it. It's projection. That's the word that people use. It's called projection. It's projecting the things that you do and the things that you are on others. It's nothing that he hasn't done. Everything he said, he's done himself. Yet what he's accusing others of is totally false, and we're seeing it. And I think time will tell. But in general, he has betrayed us significantly as a whole, as a country, and it's on the brink of breaking up. The country may fall apart because of some of these reckless decisions that Abiy Ahmed has made in the last 3 years.
Great. You have addressed my questions. At the end, what I would like to ask you is maybe there are some leftovers that I did not mention for you. Do you have any remarks or messages to relay for the entire people, or it could be for the whatever that we didn't mention about? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to say or to describe the situation right now.
Sure. Yeah. So it's not a lot I need to say. I think we've covered most of what we need to cover, but I do want to advise all Ethiopians and friends of Ethiopia to advocate for no war. War is not to anybody's interest. With war, there's no winners. So we do push for everyone in Ethiopia to push for no war and no casualties, no killings, and no destruction. And then make sure that these folks come and have a dialogue. The political parties, everybody else needs to come to the table and talk and make sure they sort out any disagreements that they have. Make sure you push your politicians and everybody else that you have local or that you know internationally to support for peace. I think a peaceful resolution is going to be the best way out for all of us and to keep the country in one. What I would say is to the Tigrayans, stay hopeful. We'll get through this. Tigray will prevail. We have always prevailed against any outside threat and any harm that is sent our way. We're always managed to get out of it, but we don't want to lose anyone. So we're not pushing for war, but we are here to defend our sovereignty, our state, our people, and God is with us.
Great. So our followers will be having Mr. Hayalam from Tigray Professional Network president, along with other people, 3 of them in about 10-15 minutes. Please follow us and like us and share this message from Johnny Denver for all the international groups, any senators, congressmen, so they can hear what we are talking about and to avoid the genocide going on in Ethiopia. We have concluded our discussion with Danny Denver. Like I said, we'll be back in a few minutes with Mr. Hayalam to discuss about time for peace. So you are invited to watch our discussion in about few minutes. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnny Denver, for being with us with Cyber Power of Tigray. Cyber Power of Tigray, as you know, is the best media in North America. Please support Cyber Power of Tigray in any way. Support, subscribe us, like us, any help that keep us going. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ephraim. I appreciate you having me, and let's go.
All right. Thank you.